Hey, welcome to a short video on how to split up functionality among multiple files inside the Eclipse IDE. So we can think about a development environment where we have all of our functionality into a single file. And that might work as long as our file is 200 lines long. But what happens when we end up with a project with a much longer um, number of lines of code? What we're going to want to do that is split it up into multiple files appropriate for the functionality. This is very similar to the Python idea of libraries and also the whole idea of import, where we can in Python create our main file and then we can import other functionality from that code using that import statement. It's a little different in the C programming world, but the concept is very similar. So let's do file, and we're going to do new, and we're going to C plus project, and I'm do C managed build, and I'm going to hit next, and I'm going to call it, let's call it multi file. And I'm going to go ahead and select the hello world and the min.gw, and I'm going to go ahead and hit finish. So this is going to give you my standard file that we use quite often. Just put printf here and a /n here. And I'm going to save that file. And then I'm going to build the project. And there's no errors. And I'm going to go ahead and just run that project. And sure enough, it's going to print out hello world. So here's my multi-file. And let's go into the source directory and notice we've got our single file here. But what happens if I wanted to add a function? Let's say it's called change value. So I'm going to do void change value. And I'm going to pass it a variable. And yep, that works great. So I'm going to pass it a value called int, or an integer. I'm going to give it a pointer, remember, because if we're going to have the function change it, we're going to do something like that. Now, I always like to add my return statement and my functions just for completeness. Now down here, I'm going to create a integer, and we can set it to the value of 5, and then I can call my function with that %a sign. This again passes the pointer to that value. When it comes up here and changes the value, that's going to change whatever is pointed to by 10. And then we can print that out if we'd like. We can come down here and print that. That looks very good. So we're going to print that value. So it should, this again, very simple. Now this is a short program. We would normally keep it all right here, no problems. But let's just use this as an example. So again, we have our integer. We're going to go up here and change it. We're going to come back and print it out. Pretty straightforward. So let's go ahead and save that. And we're going to build it. And we've got no errors. And now let's go ahead and run it. And sure enough, it's going to print out a equals 10 because the value is going to get passed up to here. We're going to change it and bring it back. Now, what would happen if this was a 2,000 line program? And then we wanted to add some sort of function that would change the value by using a very complex calculation. Well, we might want to place this function in another file. And so to do that, we're going to have to add two files. So let's go over here to File. And I'm going to go up here to New. And I'm going to first get a header file. Now the header file is going to give us, let's call it multi.h. So this is going to give us information about our code that's going to be in this second file so that we can let the original file know about that. So I'm going to hit finish. and it used a template file for that, which is great. It's going to use this if define. Simply, we may use this multi.h include file in multiple files. And in fact, we might not remember what files we've used it in. And so we might try to declare variables twice. So we don't want to do that. This helps us do that. So if this file has been used, it won't redo it. So now we have this change value function, remember? And it has this format. So let's do void change value. So there's our format. Now this is a prototype. It's not the function itself. It's a simple prototype. That's going to go in our .h file or our include file. Now we're going to go up here. We're going to say file. And we're going to go new. And we're going to go a C file this time, because this is actually going to hold our code. So I'm going to go multi.c. And these are going to have the same names. So I've got multi.h and multi.c. Notice there's nothing in here right now. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this file and grab this function. And I'm going to do cut. And then over here, I'm going to do paste. So this is our function. So this is actually going to define what that function is. Now, let's go ahead and save everything. And let's go ahead and try to build it. It's not going to work, but I want to show you what's going to happen. So if I do build project, it's going to say, hold on here. I am not sure what this change value thing is. I'm really confused. So to have access to this, since it's in a different file, I'm going to go to my multi.c, and right up here, I'm going to say pound include, and sure enough, multi.h. So remember, this is our multi, or I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I'm saying multi, I used mult. That's fine. Here's our mult.h and here's our mult.c. And we're going to include that here. So what that's going to allow us to do now is to use this function, because this, when it hits the compiler, it's going to go bring in this code. It's going to bring in that prototype and say, great, I know what change value now means. So let's go File and Save All. And then I'm going to go Project, and I'm going to build my project. And sure enough, it worked just fine this time. So now I'm going to go ahead and run my project. Let's go ahead and run as. And sure enough, it's going to start here. When it reaches this value, it's going to go over to here. And then it's going to run in the mult.c. It's going to actually run this function here. And then when it hits return, it's going to come back to here. Now, how did the system know how to do this? Well, the system keeps what we call a make system available. That is, when we build a project and start putting our files in it here, when we build that project, it knows to look and build not only this file, but all the files that are associated with our project. Now, if we didn't have the IDE, we'd have to create a version of that called make or CMake that would specify all the files that are part of our project. But because in Eclipse it knows these files, then it knows how to get those and bring it back into the system. In fact, let's go do a little bit different. We're going to do run. We're going to debug as, and now let's go ahead. It's going to bring up a window. I'm going to go to the debug world. Notice we've stopped here. Let's go ahead and hit step. It's going to go to here. And now when we hit step, notice it went to the other file because it knew where that file was defined, or that function was defined. Allows us to walk through. Now when we go back, it's going to take us back to here. So it's the same as if they were in the same file, but it could be in a different file. Again, we wouldn't do this for this small of a set of lines, but if this were a 2,000 line set of code and we had another file that had a function that we really wanted to use that also was large, this is a way to do that. Now, there's another way to do this, which is to actually have these in different projects. I'm going to include a video that will show you how to do that.